All right, so let's get to the best part of the show. This is where we hone in on self-growth, mindset, entertainment, humor, financial literacy, health trends, and much more. Today, we are talking about using your ego for good.
Well, what do I think about that?
Yeah, because I don't have much on this topic.
Well, so I have an ego.
Yes.
And I've had an ego.
Yes.
I think ego is developed. Everybody's probably got an ego. It's just how they develop it. And I used my ego as a propulsion system. And every time that I accomplished, I fed the ego.
Okay.
And when I fed the ego got bigger. And then I would accomplish more because I was more bold and able to take on more. And then it got to a point, I'm talking like early days.
Mm-hmm.
And then it got to a point actually, because I have to note this to get into the future, is it was probably 2013 when I was at Mezzanine. And I had closed a deal, probably made 20 grand. I don't know what the number was, but enough to get me feeling good about myself. I'm in the LS 460. I'm driving out of the neighborhood. The weather's a 10. I got all 4 windows down and the moonroof open. Mm-hmm. And everything in me was like, turn up the radio and just enjoy it and embrace it and hot shot and feel the feeling of being a winner. And I'm the shit, and I could go drop $1,000 somewhere, and it wouldn't even faze me. And I swear to you, I turned off of our street that we lived on,
mm-hmm.
rolling towards the gate. And I remember something Ronaldo Taberti had said. He said, operating from the ego has never, ever served him. And you want to talk about someone that either has an ego or an ego that at one point in his life was probably out of check.
He's Vegas.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I repeated to myself, and I was like, you know what? It's just not worth it. And at that moment, I checked myself. Now, my ego can come out and can get flared up, but I make conscious effort to not operate solely from the ego. But when I need to use it, I do. I think the ego emboldens me. So when there's a challenge in front of me, and there's fear running through me of the unknown or uncertainty, or can I accomplish this, or do I really want to go to battle with this person? I have to dig deep and flip that button and go, I need you, ego, now. And it turns me into a different person. And then I attack, and I can be aggressive, and it's gloves off, and it's scorch earth. And now it's important to have control of that.
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm done using it as a tool, I can put it back into its box and let it rest. And then I operate from just normalcy after that.
Mm-hmm.
But I absolutely believe it's a powerful tool. And it's just how you develop it.
Yeah.
Some people, they depend on it. And it's not backed by anything. I think that's where the real issue comes, is when they have these huge egos,
mm-hmm.
and the ego isn't being used as a tool.
They're using it as a superficial foundation
that they're depending on. Like in their brain, they've built this crazy ego that's built from nothing but fantasy.
And they're standing on it.
And in their brain and using it to operate.
And
it's unjustified.
Would that mean that they aren't using their ego for good then?
No,
in that
not
scenario?
those people. They're not turning it off.
They're not turning it off. They can't turn it off.
Yeah.
If they turn it off,
their foundation crumbles.
Their whole everything about them collapses. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying when I said I think.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny. These are great topics because they're truly off the cuff. Like we didn't research this topic.
No,
I'm giving you my 2 cents from a candid position. So to try to articulate it on a whim here, there's a challenge to it. But I think it's important to talk about it. It's how you build it. So never be afraid to have an ego, in my opinion. Just build it properly and understand what you're trying to do with it. If what Danny just described, I think the ego is totally dysfunctional and should not be utilized that way.
What's the difference between ego and confidence?
That's a good question. Dan, you got any ideas on that?
Confidence, you can do it. Like everyone, we have confidence, but I think there's times where you need your ego to be a little fucking cocky and use that confidence. Be like, no, you're the smartest motherfucker in the room. Figure it the fuck out. You're like, you know what? I can't figure this shit out. Like it just a little boost.
It's like a little nitrous oxide. And what you just said there, Dan, you said, I think I can figure this. I know I can figure this out. That's confidence. And then you went and pressed to the nitrous oxide, and then that was the ego that goes, I can fucking figure this out. I think you need, there you go. I think that's how an ego is productive, is you have confidence that gets you to the starting line.
Okay.
And then you got to snap into like 2.0 version of yourself. And to tap into that, it's ego. No one's faster than me. No one's going to beat me at this race. But it took confidence. You can't use ego to get to the starting line. You know what I'm saying? It's
well, there you go. The people that use ego as their foundation don't have confidence.
There you go.
They're just running on fucking nitrous the whole time.
Yeah.
As soon as that shit runs out.
Yep. And it's backwards.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
that was good.
Yeah, my dad used to call ego edging God out.
I remember you telling me that.
He used to do stupid acronyms all the time. He would just make shit up. So he made that up.
They always seemed rooted in some level of logic.
Yeah, I mean, if you say anything, I got it figured out. The English accent.
Well, edging God out, ego means
Makes
that
sense,
I can do it all on my own.
Yeah.
I don't need anybody else. I'm independently the best. And God is always easily referenced as the religious component of faith.
Uh-huh.
But it doesn't have to be. God could be the universe. God could be
Energy inside.
inside of you. It could be my wife. It could be, it could be you to me to you, something greater than yourself.
Than yourself. Yeah.
So how can you use ego for good?
I think that's it. I think you actually helped define it. I think the confidence gets you. So you have a task in front of you, and you've got a task that you believe you can take down, that you can overcome, but there's still some uncertainty, because even with confidence, it's a good thing that you have the one angel on your shoulder saying, hey, be careful, be cautious, don't take too much risk. And sometimes you have to crush that voice. And confidence can work its way around that voice.
Uh-huh.
But when it's game time, honestly, it's ego, man. I mean, I was playing pickleball yesterday, and Cameron Zan and Kevin Guyan. Yep, Kevin Guyan, great guy. Smoking me and Andre.
Yeah.
0 to 11, game 1. Game 2 was 1 to 11. So I was like, okay, 9 more games and I'll win. That's how I looked at it. And so we went and we had to switch each time, back and forth. Like game 6 or 7, Cameron and Kevin are looking at Andre and I are like, do you guys want to switch it up? Like, kind of feeling bad for us.
Yeah.
And Andre even for a moment entertained it. I felt him entertain it, and I blanketed the convo. No, absolutely not. Because I want to win under these circumstances.
Yeah, you don't want them to like make it so that you win.
Yeah, they're changing the rules a little bit
Yeah.
so that I can win. Giving me, because Cameron and Kevin are really experienced pickleball players in comparison to Andre and I, which was our first
Right.
game yesterday. And that was my ego. So confidence got me to the court, having never really played against guys that play. And then it was serving me. And then I had to dig even deeper. And that was ego. Am I going to let this guy switch these things up? And how do I brag about winning? Oh, I won because I'm going to fucking own my win. And the way I'm going to own my win is I'm going to do it myself, edging God out.
Yeah. What's funny is you said ego for good is, I always said if I had a kid, I'm beating his ass in basketball until the day he can fucking beat me. Because that day he beats me, he's going to look me in the face and be like,
I earned this.
Yeah, I'm be
How
like,
good is he going to feel?
yeah.
Dude, exceptional.
I'm going to dunk on you on the little 6-foot rim until you go home and like, God damn it.
And sometimes that ego is when ego is like unshakable almost.
Well, I mean, to piggyback off your pickleball story, like I came home and you're like, I almost had him. And you're telling me it's 0 to 11. I'm like, I don't know if you almost had him.
Well, what was happening? And
Is that your ego?
it was my ego that kept me in the game because my knees were starting to go. My eyes were tired. Andre's telling me that his lower back and ass is starting to burn. And he's like, dude, this is fucking intense. And I'm like, let's keep fucking going. Let's just keep going.
I took 25,000 steps a day in Coachella.
Did you?
Yeah.
What is that? That's
know.
fucking 10. That's 20 miles?
And Angie can't see. She kept saying, let me get on your shoulders. And she's on my shoulder and she's bouncing and I'm dancing. Go through that.
Ego's your nitrous. That's
Absolutely.
what I'm going to call it. When you're down and out and you're out
It's
of
like your
confidence,
fourth wind.
it's your fourth wind. That's that voice that fucking is there to pick you up and go, let's go. Let's fucking go now. Now push. That's my ego.
Yeah.
When I'm exhausted at work and anything that I'm doing and I'm out of fuel, I dig into the ego. And I don't know. Yeah, I dig into the ego, and there's all kinds of ways that I could analyze this.
I know, there's just a lot of negative attached to it.
Yeah, there you go. That's probably the next topic is it's
Ego
not
has
all
a
bad.
negative-
None of it's bad. None of it. Self-limiting beliefs aren't bad. Self-esteem issues aren't bad. Insecurities aren't bad. It's all how you.
It's part of the pot.
It's part of the pot. It's what makes all of us who we are.
Like I used to do that at Nora's, and it was for my own confidence. I used to walk in there, but I'm the best servant ever walked in this house or this building. I was the best busser. I'm the best everything. Sell more than me, and I would just talk shit, and everyone hated it. But it motivated them to a point where they wanted to beat me,
Sure.
and it made me work harder. So it's like, all right, I know I'm going to make more money now since I've talked enough shit. To
Right. If
everyone
you
around
talk
here.
enough shit, you gotta.
Yeah. So everyone
it.
made more money because I was so egotistical.
That's right. I want to use that as an example in the real estate space. Honestly. You know, everybody elevated their game, and there was one of the guys last on Saturday night said that he's like, because a lot of these names people don't even recognize, like the Zolt era, the Maxim era, the Realtech Realty era. There was a time when I was just a realtor showing that product, and horrific is an understatement. Danny would have hives if he walked into one of these flips and was told it was a flipped product. Like they would not put carpet in the closets. You know, they wouldn't. The old school trick I was telling you about how to put a light in the room.
Yeah.
Instead of running it all the way up, they would just stick it right there. You know, there was many other things. Painted cabinets to where you couldn't open them because they'd painted them shut.
Yeah, painted them shut.
You know, or the inside, and then therefore the inside wasn't painted.
Yeah.
But this guy, he goes, "You elevated the flipping game," and I'm like, "Yeah, I did."
Yeah.
And then everybody else elevated, to Danny's point. Now the consumer's getting a better product and everybody's making more money. And I always, you know, this is where the ego can be checked. I can carry that title for the rest of my life, but unfortunately it stops where I just ended it, is that I elevated it. But it doesn't mean I'm the best today.
Right.
And you know, I learned that from from Dan Bilzerian. Dan Bilzerian they'd be like, "Well, why don't you play poker anymore?" He's like, "Dude, I was part of an era where not everybody knew poker.
Yeah.
You know, we were doing backroom deals. I was taking advantage of people that thought they knew poker, and I was a king at that point." He goes, "Now I'm competing with guys that have been playing poker since they were 8.
Right.
You know, and no, I'm not the best anymore. That's why I don't play poker." And I would take that and own that all day. There are guys out there, and I'll give the guy credit right now, Hubs, Nick Marietta, all due respect. Do those flips? One of their flips is better is a better designed flip than in all of my flips ever combined. You know, one of their super high end flips. But so that's me checking my ego and not standing on it artificially, but keeping it healthy by giving myself the credit that I believe I deserve, which was I was one of the stepping stones.
Yeah, you were the influence
to pushing that elevation, to elevating the game.
I mean, and the spider web below you, who you got into flipping, is vast.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I think that's what's starting to happen. Is I think I was an influence, Dan, in the space for many years, but never on display.
I think that's using your ego for good, right? For influence.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, you know, and that's what I'm saying. Like the ego needs to be fed. Like I enjoy inspiring people, and seeing the tools and tricks that I've taught someone be utilized to improve their life. That's serving the ego. I don't know. Dan, you got your phone?
No.
Oh yeah, none of us have our phone. You have your phone, honey?
Yeah.
Google ego.
Okay.
Let's really see what the psychological definition is, or what would you call that? The mental health definition.
Oh. A person's sense of self-esteem or self-importance.
Okay.
Yeah.
See how bad it's chalked up to be?
You know,
Right.
And
It
it's
does have a
not.
bad rep, and it's really not that bad.
It's not bad. What is the definition of ego? One more time.
A person's sense of self-esteem or self-importance.
Okay. you know what? I think I'm fucking important. I do.
Absolutely.
And I think it's a shame to think that you're not important. Okay. And my self-esteem, absolutely. I have high self-esteem. And that's where I think it's easy to get confused between insecurities and self-esteem. You can have insecurities. I have insecurities, but I have high self-esteem. I have, a high belief that I'm important. It's okay to have like a bag of tricks.
Insecurities and being insecure are two totally separate things. Because you choose to be insecure about whatever you're insecure about, but everyone has insecurities.
You believe that?
100%.
I don't disagree, but
I've seen the most gorgeous people
oh my gosh,
be insecure and be depressed because of it.
So it says people ask, so what exactly does ego mean? And it says the I or self of any person, a person as thinking, feeling, and willing, and distinguishing itself from the selves of others. So that's very convoluted, but what I take from that is that the people that don't have an ego means that they don't feel like they are different or stand out from anybody else.
Ooh, deep.
Yeah, that
Right?
sounds bad.
Agreed.
Right.
Yeah.
Individualism.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Yeah. Shit. That was good.
Oh, thanks.
Let's talk about these insecurities.
Okay.
You've got a beautiful human being, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay, beautiful human being goes to a bar, goes out.
Yep.
Their hope and intent for the evening is that they will find somebody that finds them attractive
They'll get
to
noticed.
validate their beauty.
Yes.
Okay. They're so beautiful that what they've done is they've intimidated and or out of my league everybody around them. So now everybody around them is afraid to approach them or validate their beauty because they're intimidated by them. So now they've created an insecurity, and they go home and they look in the mirror and they're like, okay, nobody validated what I believe to be beautiful, so I'm going to make it more beautiful. Okay, so now I'm going to go get big ass tits. Okay, or I'm going to get bigger muscles, whatever side of the spectrum you want to be on. Okay, then they go out again. They're like, okay, now I'm even more beautiful than I was.
And no one talked to me.
And nobody talks to me. Why? Likely they don't realize this, but everybody's intimidated and even more intimidated than the first run. So then they go home, they get a nose job, they get extensions, they get big lips, they update their makeup, they get this outrageous wardrobe on, it's to the 9, and they go out and nobody talks to them.
There's probably one ugly guy that just has no self-awareness, and he's like, I'm just going to hit on this chick. And now she's like, the fucking ugly guy hit on me?
Right.
Yeah.
The one guy that I wouldn't have wanted actually showed me some attention.
Yeah.
And you're not wrong, because he's delusional. And now he's not validating that beauty, and that they're not giving her the validation that she wants to, because she's beautiful. But what I think at that point, some of these girls, what they need to realize, or guys, is just tone it back down.
Yeah.
Just be normal. There's no accents to the dad bods in. That you look at this hot girl and she's with this normal looking dude. Just tone it down so that you're approachable.
Yeah.
And think whatever you're displaying is likely what you're going to attract. So if you're displaying this artificial, very difficult to keep up with lifestyle, perfection, now I'm going to self-reflect myself and go, am I in alignment with that energy? And there's a good shot that I'm going to be like, no, not even close. Right?
Yeah.
So now you're just living a life of rejection, and then you're not understanding why you're being rejected, and you're doubling down the same thing that's getting you rejected over and over and over and over again.
Or you're shooting for perfection, so then you're attracting perfection, and you don't want to be with perfection.
No. Most of these chicks, these incredibly beautiful girls and really handsome dudes. I actually have a guy in my life. He works out with us at the gym. He worked with a guy in the office here.
Yeah.
He's an older gentleman. He's beautiful. And I think that he's lived a very unfulfilling life because he solely depends on what he looks like on the outside.
Yeah.
So now there's no girl good enough looking for him.
And he's at the age now, he's not going to get the 20s and 25s anymore.
No.
Yeah. So anyway, that's my 2 cents on that. On the
There was a guy, he was doing a seminar with a bunch of women. He was talking about like the perfect man and have you met him yet? And he asked them all questions. He's like, do you guys ever talk to guys? I'm like, no. Oh, so you wait for him to talk to you. Okay. Boom, boom. He was like, if you ever see a guy that you really, really like, just go talk to him. And they're all like balked at him. He's like, do you know the kind of guys that have the confidence to just walk up to girls and talk to them? He's like, the fucking assholes, the players, the
Yep.
guys that have confidence that are going to fuck you over.
Yep.
Yep.
That's the guys you're waiting on.
Right.
He's like, have some balls and go find your fucking man. He's like, you're going to be surprised when you talk to a guy, the one you are attracted to, that you might actually like him and he might have a good personality, but you're just so fucking unapproachable. They don't fucking get out of their seat.
That's a good point.
Mic drop.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah, when he said that, I was like, damn.
Well, and it's never been said where it's like to the woman,
Yeah.
go pick your guy. They just sit there and wait for guys to walk up to them.
And who's the guy with confidence?
Right,
Fucking
the
us
shithead.
when we
Right.
were 20.
Exactly.
You don't want to talk to me when I
No.
was
It
20.
was you.
It was you.
Angie asked me, she's like, she's all fucking faded at telling, she's looking at me. She's like, what if we met 5 years ago? I'm like, you would have fucking hated me. She's like, oh, you're cocky. I'm like, no, I was a different fucking human. I was not a good dude.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree.
But I would have walked right up to her if I met her. What's up, baby?
Right. Right. With all the wrong intentions.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what, honey, how does ego, what do you think about ego? How does that serve you or not serve you in business and in life?
I just would argue that I don't really have an ego, but then when I read the description that if you don't have an ego, it means that you don't stand out, I would say that I do have an ego because I do feel like I stand out. But I would say my ego, I think, is on my ability to be productive and get things done. That's where my ego is.
So it's that extra boost of nitrous that
Yes.
Danny and I were talking about.
Yeah, like when people are like, "Oh, I have 2 soccer games today." I'm like, "I have 4 today and 2 tomorrow." Like, no big deal.
And 2 birthdays.
Yeah, and I'm like excited. I'm like, I'm gonna get this done today.
Yeah, I think, well, you have to validate the definition of ego,
Yeah.
which is you have to validate it, meaning if the true definition of is importance, right?
Yeah.
It was self-importance.
Yeah,
And
self-important.
what was the other one?
And the other one said it's how you differentiate from other people.
How you stand out.
Yeah.
So how do you revalidate that all the time? You have to do superhuman special shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
There you go.
It's almost like challenge accepted.
That's ego.
Yeah.
That's ego for me. When I
Yeah.
have to look at the person across from me and know that I've got to go to battle with them on a verbal basis or wits or brain or intelligence, I dig deep. I go into my ego space. Dude, I've had it happen many times actually when I've been deposed by attorneys. These guys are paid to go and shred the guy across from them, use their own words against them. The first time I ever did it, I sat in this room for fucking 8 hours before it was my turn, and I didn't eat anything. And no, I ate a huge breakfast. Excuse me. But I didn't eat anything after that because I knew it would be a few hours in before I talked, and I didn't want to be lethargic or tired
Right.
because of all the food I'd put in my belly. So I'm sitting there just drinking coffee, and then I'd feel myself fading. And I'm like, what if it's my turn in the next second? So I'd
Oh
hit
my
another
God.
coffee. Then I'd feel myself fade, and then I'd hit another coffee. So I'm like caffeinated to the max, and then they're like, it's your turn. And that was a true visual of my ego serving me. In my brain, I looked across the table at this guy, and he fucking read it right on my forehead. And I looked at him, I said, let's fucking go. In my brain. Like, this is that moment I get to challenge myself against the best. And I held my own the first time. Second time, same thing. Sat there and just fucking battled with this attorney for 7 hours. This one was the whole time, 7 hours battling with him. I walk outside, I sit next to my attorneys during our break, and they're like, you are crushing it. You're giving this guy nothing. And that fed my ego. I was like, I'm fucking special. I'm important. I'm different.
Beautiful. You won that, right?
I would have won it. So I won the first lawsuit. You're right. The second lawsuit I would have won, but because my insurance kicked in to defend me.
Yeah, the E&O
ultimately,
insurance.
Yeah. The error and omissions insurance kicked in, and their attorneys dictate the legal strategy. So we were just so done with their outrageous demands and how weak their case was that we were like, have at it. Let's go. Let's go to trial, and whoever wins. And I'm ready to write the check. And at the last second, they decided to settle, and they reached out and said, hey, let's settle. And the insurance, being the one that's ultimately going to write the check, was like, of course, we'll take a small settlement over a possibility of a 50-50 shot of having to write a bigger check.
Right.
So yes, in my book, I felt that I won that one, but I had to follow the lead of the attorneys that the insurance company hired.
They're paying.
They were paying. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Is that your ego saying you won?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I think this is a good conversation, a good topic. I think the ego is absolutely healthy. Let's summarize it. The ego is absolutely healthy. We read the formal definition of ego, and it is not bad.
No, it's not bad.
It's probably bad if you don't have a little.
I think
ego.
egotistical might be bad.
Let's
but-
Google that one really quick. Ego versus egotistical.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's probably how they got convoluted.
Right.
He's an egotistical prick. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
glasses, convertible.
All right, honey. What is the definition of an egotistical?
Okay, so it
person?
says definitions. Ego definition, which is a personal character trait. It's a person's sense of self-esteem or self-importance. Egotistical definition, which is a personal external behavior towards others, is excessively conceited or absorbed in oneself. So ego is a character trait and egotistical is external behavior towards others.
Jeez, that was.
Yeah, it's like they're
So you're
overdoing the ego.
Yeah.
They're displaying it on everybody else.
Yeah,
We
and
said it.
overly confident. It's the smoke show.
It's ingredients, and they're
Yeah.
just doing a little too much ego.
Yeah.
You got too much salt in the cookies.
Yeah.
Calm down, egotistical men.
There you go. So let's summarize with that. So the ego's healthy.
Ego's healthy
Being egotistical
is not.
is not.
Correct.
There you go.